thank you so much, everyone. Thank you for being here, and thank you, panelists. It's just so exciting to share some of the youth of Montana who are fighting for a livable climate with you guys. So I thought we could start by just doing a short, maybe each of you introduce yourselves a little bit and talk a little bit about who you are and what you're doing to fight for a livable climate. Alicia, could we start with you?
Wow, hi. Thanks everybody for coming here. Thanks for being so nice when we walked out. I am here because I was a high school science teacher for a really long time, and while I was there, I started a group called the Park High Green Initiative, and now we're here in front of you. We've done a lot of really cool things in our community. We've started recycling clubs and raised money for solar panels for our high school, and just like other things that keep a sustainable future going in our community.
Yeah, Eva?
Hi everybody, my name is Eva Lighthizer, and I am currently involved in the Lighthizer v. Trump federal lawsuit that recently just had a hearing this past. We just had a hearing a couple weeks ago, and Georgia testified, and so I'm currently working on that. I have also been involved previously in the Held v. Montana case, which went to trial in 2023 and then subsequently won 3 months later.
Yeah, Georgia?
Hi, I'm Georgia, and I am a member of Park High Green Initiative, and I'm a senior in high school, and I'm a part of the Lighthizer v. Trump case. Obviously, I testified, and I've always kind of been involved in like climate change and stuff, and I've always kind of wanted to help out, and I hope to keep doing that.
Yeah, thank you all for being here. It's just really great. Eva is a freshman in college at Colorado College. Georgia is a senior in high school. So yeah, it's really incredible that they're taking time out of their busy lives. They're both missing classes today to be here with us and share their expertise. So I really appreciate that. And I am not a Montanan, I'm an Idahoan. I'm an editor for the magazine High Country News. And we ran a story about all these folks and the amazing work that they're doing earlier this year. So I'm glad that we can share some of that with you all. So as Alicia said, you all are connected through the Green Initiative at Park High. That's how you met each other. You have been part of groundbreaking, precedent-setting litigation. You're both currently suing the federal government over 3 executive orders having to do with climate change, which is really exciting. You also have worked to get electric buses at your school, tried to raise money for charging stations, and done a lot more. It's not just the lawsuits, although those are important. You're doing tons of different amazing things. I was hoping you could share a little bit about what that looks like for you in your daily life. How do you show up for the climate fight? How does that fit in with everything else that you're doing? Eva or Georgia?
I can start. I'll definitely be focusing more on case-related stuff, but you know, I think having grown up in Montana and experiencing the effects of the climate crisis firsthand, you know, Georgia and I have seen the effects of wildfires, how wildfire smoke permeates the skies all summer long. You know, we've experienced flooding events on the Yellowstone River, which borders our town and has caused incredible and devastating damage in the past. And you know, having experienced that firsthand and also knowing that we're heading towards a very uncertain future where, you know, a lot's up in the air, it felt kind of essential to me to take action. And I initially got involved in the Held v. Montana case 5 years ago. The case was filed on my 14th birthday, and it was a really kind of incredible and frightening sort of experience going to trial because I was very nervous about testifying before the court. But you know, I think over the course of that experience, I really learned the importance of youth voices and how important it is that young people use, you know, what I believe is their most powerful tool, which is their voice. And having learned that, moving in with this next case, moving forward, it's just incredibly important that youth keep using our voices and we stick up for the climate that we care about.
I guess I could speak more on what I would call boots on the ground kind of work, where it's less in the courtroom and more just kind of out in the community and stuff. I've gone and planted trees in my community. I've raised money for electric buses. I like doing the taking action work. Of course, using your voice and doing a lawsuit is very important. But I also appreciate that being outdoors and doing something that's actively making an impact, I guess. But yeah, that's kind of where I've been more motivated, but we'll see as this case moves forward.
Yeah, thank you. And Alicia, I know you work with so many other young people who weren't able to be here today. Is there anything else that you would want to showcase?
Yeah. A lot of what I've been doing since 2017 is creating community for young people and creating that space for them. A good example of one thing that we do in Montana is it started in 2023, and we have another one coming up in a few weeks, the Montana Youth Climate Summit. And yeah, thanks. So in 2023, Georgia, you might have been there. A couple of the youth in the Green Initiative were we want to go to a summit because we just want to be around other like-minded youth. It's really hard in a place like rural Montana when you are fighting for the climate and you feel a little bit isolated. So they're let's go to a summit so we can be around people other young people like us. And so we looked for one, and the closest one was in Southern California or in Maine. And so when I told them that, they were well, then we're going to make one. And I was oh, okay, here we go. And so we had our first one in 2023. Like I said, we have another one coming up in a few weeks. And the biggest feedback we get from all of that is the community and the camaraderie is so important. And so that's, creating community and space for things like that.
Yeah, and I think that's a good lead into my next question, which is just, we have here gathered in this room local leaders and officials from lots of communities who really care about the future of mountain towns and climate action. So kind of addressing this audience, what can we all do to help support you and to help continue the work that you're doing? Basically, thinking about the folks gathered here, what do you need from us?
One thing that I always say is that a lot of us young people, when I initially was involved in HELD, I wasn't able to vote. Georgia isn't able to vote, and that's something that a lot of adults can do. As well as, I think since adults have a lot more resources, connections, and money that they're able to use to put forward and use to take action against the climate crisis, I feel like it's really incredibly important that, people of all ages, no matter where you are in life, can take some sort of action. And I think it's always important to reiterate that, the climate crisis isn't falling on the shoulders of just young people. Yes, we are inheriting an incredibly uncertain future, but everybody can take action.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with Eva. I think that, just listen to our voices. We are saying things that need to be done, and I think everyone can contribute to that. And yeah, we need to fight this fight together, and it can't just be on the youth. It can't just be on us. We need to get a community together to fight it.
One thing I have definitely noticed being around young people fighting, it is not helpful when someone of an older generation looks at them and says, and I'm not even trying to get a laugh here, when someone looks at them and says, I have faith in the future because of you. That is too much pressure to put on all of the young people around. And they come back and they're but I can't even vote right now. I can't even do that. So making sure that you support the young people who are fighting the fight, providing them with platforms and funding and snacks are so important. And yeah, so when we come together in places like this, multi-generational learning is so important. being supportive of each other is so important. And don't look at them and say that you have faith in the future because they are fighting, like, because they're looking back at you and like, yeah, but I need you now.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you. Yeah. So one thing that comes up a lot in my role as a journalist who works on climate stories is that, climate change is dangerous, it's harmful, it's destructive. Like everyone in this room knows that. And we have to acknowledge that. But if we only ever talk about destruction and the really devastating impacts of climate change, that can leave people feeling a lot of despair and kind of just feeling like, well, there's nothing I can do. Like, I might as well just sit on my couch and not do anything. So I'm always trying to remember for myself and also to remind readers of the stories that I'm working on and other people that there are things we can do now to make a difference, and we can work together to make the future a better future and avoid the worst outcomes. Like we can work towards a better future. So my question for you is, does that idea resonate with you? How do you, in your work or in your, for yourselves, how do you reconcile those two sides of things, like the real negative harms that you are directly experiencing and then moving beyond that?
Looking at climate change from the global perspective is incredibly intimidating, and that it feels just overwhelming when you think about climate change in that sense. But I think when you focus what you can do in your community on the local level, that really helps kind of motivate you to take action and start small, baby steps, right? The climate crisis is incredibly heavy on our mental health, and that's a huge burden to bear, and it can be really difficult to kind of reconcile with at times. So I think, starting small, doing what you can to not only preserve yourself so that you can take action, that's really important too. And yeah, I think just always remembering, like, we can take action in our, on the local community, start with a conversation. There's so many ways in which you can get involved.
Yeah, I would definitely agree. I think I used to struggle a lot with eco-anxiety, and it was almost paralyzing, where I was like, there's nothing I can do. Like, what am I gonna, it's just too big to handle. But I think that it is doable, and all you can do is take action yourself and hope that everyone follows along with you. I definitely just kind of have started to put my head down and take action and keep doing the good work and hope that people will start following and joining me in the fight, I guess.
And I think, we have there's many concrete examples of that, but in the story that High Country News published earlier this year about some of the work you guys are doing, one of the main examples was that you and the club really worked to get electrified school buses at your school. Yeah. Can you talk a little bit about what that was like?
Yeah. So my sophomore year, I think, Miss J came to me and she was like, all right, we need to get electric school buses. We finally were awarded EPA funding. We can get 2 electric school buses, but we need charging stations. And so she kind of elected me to start that fight and start fundraising. And so the summer after I worked with PCEC, I was an intern, and I was able to start an electric bike raffle in my local town and get over $5,000 to start the fundraising. And the next summer, I guess I worked on the climate summit. But yeah, I just kind of am looking to keep fundraising and just work towards that goal.
Yeah, that's really incredible. Like, you did something concrete for your school and your community. So yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
How do you think about it, Alicia?
I'm not surprised that we're all sitting here in a room that's named Mountain Towns 2030, right? We all have that in common, and it's all like we come from this place of beauty, right? And so that's why it's really easy for us to do this fight together and to want to come here, and thank you for everybody who organized and started it. But I was just in Chicago a couple weeks ago, and it's really hard to wrap your head around the climate fight in a big city like that. It's really, really hard. But I went to the Climate Action Museum there when I was there, and what it told me, like on every single panel, was that community is more important than anything. It's like, and a lot of theirs was like, stay in your own community instead of traveling around, like get to know your neighbors and help them out. And to be honest, that is the exact same thing that we do in our town, which we're incredibly lucky to be supported in. You should see the people that show up when we have events like climate monologues and trash and shows that are like outfits made from everybody from like a kindergartner to an actual like clothing artist. And so creating community and spaces for people is like just a lot of what it is. Like this everywhere, right?
So you said trash and show.
Yeah.
So can you tell us a little bit more about what that is?
You know, a couple of years ago, we had a couple of Green Initiative members who were really, really into sustainable fashion. And so they went around the community and they got people to create clothing items out of everything from paper bags and scrapped clothing and caution tape signs and cardboard boxes and chicken feed bags, and we had a full fashion show of trash, and it was so much fun. So much fun.
Yeah, I think that's a great example of creating community in a way that can bring in folks with all different interests and really have fun at the same time doing it. That's cool. So I did want to ask, you guys are all, I mean, you alluded to some of this already, each of you, but I wanted to ask what's next for each of you in the climate fight?
Well, currently, as I mentioned before, we recently just had a hearing, so we will be awaiting a ruling from Judge Christensen in the Montana Federal Court, and it'll probably be, you know, from several weeks to several months out. We don't really know when we will receive that decision. But to give a little bit of background, essentially in the hearing we were asking for preliminary injunction, which essentially means that we are asking the government to enjoin or get rid of the 3 executive orders that we're challenging specifically, because we're claiming that they are violating our constitutional rights to life and liberty under the 5th Amendment. So for now, we are just kind of waiting on that decision. And
Yeah, I think what's next for me is I'm looking at college, obviously, and I think just pursue a career where I can just continue to do the good work and fight the fight. But yeah, also the case and everything, I'm gonna stick with it, and we'll see where that leads, so.
Yeah, and all of that in between going to classes and applying to college and taking finals, it's really incredible. So, and Alicia, what's next for you?
Well, I was going to remind Georgia that she has an independent study for Green Initiative too. I'm just kidding. This is part of it. Yeah, I guess next up for us is just in a couple of weeks, we have the 2025 Montana Youth Climate Summit. I see some people that are going to be there. The gals from Bridger Bowl are going to come and host a breakout session for students across the state. We have 50 students from across the state of Montana that are going to come to Livingston, and it's going to be like a lot like this, like an adult summit where we have opening speakers, and we have breakout sessions, and we have keynote speakers, and like I said, snacks are very important, all the food, all the meals, stuff like that. And so that'll be really fun.
Yeah, that sounds great. And if people want to learn more about that, is there a place they can you Google it and find more information?
Yeah, we have like a registration website. The Green Initiative has an Instagram. We have an Instagram for the actual climate summit, but don't expect a lot of content.
Great.
Do you want to say something, Georgia?
Oh, yeah, I was just going to say there's a registration link that would take you to the website on our Instagram. So.
Yeah.
Nice.
And it's, Like one thing I will say is like supporting educators too. A lot of the teachers who I've reached out to bring your students, like let's come and learn in community. Their biggest hang up is like, but we don't have any funding for that. We don't have anything to make it there. And it's really difficult to wrap my head around because every single school pays for hotel rooms and buses and food and all the above for the football team every week, right? And so this is something that happens every other year. It's only for one night, and schools aren't really willing to pay for it. So we've done all of the fundraising to pay for all transportation, all hotels, all substitute teachers, and like all of the food, everything, all the funding, all the honorariums for the summit so that it can actually happen.
So I mean, that's another concrete way that people can help support youth climate activists when there's something like this, I think, to help with the fundraising. So we have just a few minutes left of the moderated panel. I'll have one more question for these folks, and then we have some time for some Q&A from the audience. So if folks with microphones can get ready to bring those to folks and think about any questions that you might want to ask these guys on the stage. So last question from me. I think a lot of folks in the audience are probably pretty inspired by what you are doing. So I wondered if you could share some thoughts about how other communities might be able to replicate some of the stuff that's happening in Livingston that's so exciting.
Yeah, I think that a lot of high schools could start like their own green club. I know a lot of other high schools around Montana have started theirs. I also think that they can just build like a space in the community for that kind of thing. Like I interned with Park County Environmental Council, and I was able to keep doing the good work outside of school. And so I think just kind of creating a space and in a community where we can like execute these goals is probably the key.
Yeah, I would reiterate what Alicia said about supporting educators, knowing that making sure that children and young people are educated about the climate crisis can also really help integrate with that knowledge they can cultivate empathy and understanding and be able to care about the climate crisis from a young age, which is really important. Let's see, I had another thought and now I'm forgetting what it was. But also I think it's really important to support like your local environmental nonprofits that are doing work on the ground and standing up for their communities. As well as I think I'll just put in a shameless plug for Our Children's Trust, which is the nonprofit law firm that represents these youth cases. And in order to keep litigating these youth-led cases, they do need funding. So I'll always direct people to Our Children's Trust, and you can support them in a multitude of ways. But yeah, that's also important too.
Yeah. And then just talking about it. Like Eva, you just talked about like educating. Like I would be amiss to, in every meeting I'm ever in, I always say like education is going to save the world. And like making sure that you are talking to other people about it, telling people about this summit after you leave, talking to young people about this summit, and then giving them the space to talk about it as well. Georgia talked about it a little bit earlier, just kind of eco-anxiety and stuff like that, but it's real. A lot of these kids have been talking about it in classes for as long as they've been in school, but then oftentimes a lot of them go home and are told that the science isn't real, that climate change isn't real. And so just when you are around a young person who like wants to fight this fight, like support them in however you can instead of, I'll say it again, instead of telling them that like the whole fight is on their shoulders.
Yeah, thank you. That's great advice. Thank you all. Okay, so we have some time for questions from the audience. Maybe should we start there? Okay, yeah.
Hi, Andy Hecht, Park City Community Foundation. Thank you so much for everything you're doing. The legal argument that you're presenting is amazing. And I'm curious if you can speak to the legal aspect, finding the lawyer to make the motions, to make the arguments. You walk into a lawyer's office and say, hey, we have this idea. I'm just curious about the legal process of finding the lawyers of doing this?
Yeah, I can speak to that. So as I mentioned, Our Children's Trust is a nonprofit law firm that litigates lawsuits like this all over the country. Lighthizer v. Trump and Genesis versus EPA are currently the two active federal cases, and they also have state litigation happening. Like Held v. Montana was a state case, and what essentially with the legal groundwork for this case is that we are challenging 3 executive orders, all of which, unleash further fossil fuels, suppress access to climate science, and also suppress renewable energy. And we're claiming that those are in violation of our constitutional rights to life and liberty under the Fifth Amendment. And that we are, as I said, we filed for preliminary injunction. Of course, the federal government has proposed to dismiss this case, but we are optimistic that Judge Christensen, we're optimistic, and he seemed very intent and listened a lot during the hearing. He understood the case, the ins and outs of it, so that was really encouraging. And yeah, I think that's if you have any further questions regarding the legal aspects of the case, I can also answer that around lunchtime too, because there's always fun stuff.
And one thing is, I think we were both approached by the lawyers, and so they kind of came to us with it, and we were like, yeah, let's do this. So that's how we got the lawyers.
Let's go over here.
Andrew Mintz. Can you hear me? Andrew Mintz with Lane County. I want to thank you all for the work you're doing. It's really impressive, and it's a beacon of hope in some kind of odd times. I also want to give a quick plug. Scott, we got our students here from Blaine County, so I'll actually defer to them because I want to make sure they get their question in. But I just wanted to thank you all for your good work, and we've got some local students here that I hope you all can connect, and hopefully they go to the Climate Summit as well. So I'll defer.
Hi, my name's Sammy Milne. I'm also a senior in high school, and I'm here with my green team. We go to the Sun Valley Community School. First of all, we're really inspired by you. So we kind of have one big question. So Eva and Georgia, how do you motivate your peers at your school and around you to help join the fight, and maybe kids that aren't as educated or as inspired as you are to just come to meetings and get inspired?
It's really hard. I can tell you this year we're having a hard time getting recruiting for Green Initiative. But there's always going to be someone out there. There's always going to be someone in your school. You just got to find them. I also I hung out with my friends this summer, and throughout the summer I was like, oh, you can compost that, you can recycle that, and just kind of yelled at them a little about how they could do a little bit better in certain areas, and they joined Green Initiative because of that. And so I guess just pointing out the little things that people can do that doesn't take any effort, you can put that in the right trash can, is kind of where I found my people. But yeah,
I think to kind of piggyback off that, just educating your peers and talking with them. Everybody is going to face different impacts from the climate crisis. That's just a fact. And I'm sure they have experienced something of their own too. So, looking at their own experiences, and, they're going to see firsthand other people's experiences as well. And it is a very tricky thing, I think, to get people inspired sometimes, especially when people think of the climate crisis as something that's so big and so huge. And a lot of the time, I feel like people just don't even know where to start. So I think helping point them in the direction of a way they can take action can be helpful too.
I have a couple of things. We've gotten community members so excited about things like trash and shows, climate monologues we did one time, that was really fun, climate poetry. What are some other things that we
sewing bees.
Oh yeah, we had sewing bees to sew reusable bags that we leave at grocery stores, right? So just providing a space that isn't in a courtroom or something like that, coming up with something that drives you that other people would have fun doing too.
Was there someone from over in this section? Or someone back there?
Hi there. My name is Sarah Johnson, and I'm the director of the Colorado Youth Climate Summit. And some of the people in this room have been involved. The summit's in Carbondale, so it's really focused on reaching Western Slope, mountain town, rural students with the invitation to the Front Range too. But I want a question for Alicia. Something that I've been involved in the National Youth Climate Summit Network for a long time, and collectively we find that there's all these adults that really care, but they have no idea how to be a mentor for a young person. And so I'm wondering if you can talk about any successes. I'm putting you on the spot because that's a hard question. But how do we help adults in this room understand how to become and encourage other adults to be mentors for these young people who can't do it by themselves?
Yeah. Funny enough, we're actually launching the statewide Youth Mentor Network program at our climate summit this year. And so it's the pilot, so stay tuned as how it's going to go. But how do we help them mentor young people? I think there's just a lot of like I'm really good at listening to teenagers, right? Because I've been doing it for a long time, and just helping people that want to be there, that want to show up. Like, you can't just tell them what to do. You have to be able to listen to them. You have to be able to give them the platform and listen to what they need. But we should definitely talk over lunch. But yeah, let's talk about that Mentor Network program.
Okay, I think we have time for one more question. I see a hand way back there, maybe in this middle section back there in the back. Can we get a mic over there?
My name is Beth Blaken. I'm a town councilor for the town of Ridgeway and also a high school science teacher. And so I'm thinking about this as the intersection of electeds and education. Can you guys talk a little bit about how your school board supported you in this? You know, I think about what is the line between encouraging kids to take climate action, and in a world where school boards are changing and teachers maybe, that might be seen as a negative from some boards. Can you guys talk about that?
Georgia, do you want to give your experience first?
About the school board?
About interacting with the school board, I think.
Yeah, so definitely with the electric buses, it was a long conversation about how we want to get like the buses in and whether or not we want to have them actually. And so,
Did you have a little bit of resistance from the school board?
yeah, a little bit. But I think just showing your voice and like not backing down. I know like it was a long fight before I even was in Green Initiative to apply for these electric buses. And so I think just
And our first fight with them was solar panels. And so we went to the school district and we were like, we want solar panels. And the school board was like, no. We were like, why? And so we applied for a grant from the Department of Environmental Quality, and we got a $6,000 planning grant just to see like how much would it cost, what would we do, like how much would we save. And then we went to the school board with that, and we were like, hey, look, this is how much money we're going to save. And then we've actually saved way more than that was even in like that planning. And so we raised our own funds to get the plan, to work with an engineer, to get the solar panels. And now we've been saving the school district anywhere from like $15,000 to $18,000 a year. Yeah. And then now, like this newest fight with the electric buses, we got $400,000 for 2 electric buses. Some of the school board members were like, but we don't need a new school bus yet. It would be like going to buy a new truck when there's just a sale, even though you don't need it. And so I ran 2 school board campaigns and we won. Like that's just kind of like the short of it.
Yeah, well, I think we're almost done, but any last thoughts from Eva or Georgia?
I'll just say thank you all so much for being here, and thank you for having us. We're really appreciative.
yeah, and if you have any other questions, we'll be around, so come ask us.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone.
Montana. Great job. Great job.